Hey there, beautiful soul. Welcome to Cultivate Your Joyful Life, where we believe true fulfillment blooms from within. I'm Emily Liou, your certified life coach, and I'm on a mission to help you create a life you freaking love. In a world where we constantly juggle priorities from career to parenting, relationships to health, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or not enough. But don't worry, in this corner of the universe, I'm here to share practical tips and inspiration to help you access your inner joy right now. So, grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's cultivate your joyful life together. Here we go. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the show. I am very thrilled to start off this episode by giving you a big update that is for you. In my mind, I have been thinking about starting a free community to bring together all the listeners and all the growth-minded professionals in my network. And it's here in the show notes. I am linking a new Slack channel that my community manager, Melissa, has created. And you probably guessed the name of it already. The Slack channel is called Cultivate Your Joyful Life. So definitely take a minute to pause this episode, go to the show notes, request to join the Slack channel. And inside is a community that's designed for you. I've spoken about how I feel like my newsletter, the content I put out there, this podcast is all wonderful because I get to share my thoughts and my advice and my insights with you. But it feels very one directional. Like I feel like I'm talking to you, and I would love to hear from you and just bring together like-minded people. If you're listening to this, chances are you're really serious about growing, both personally and professionally. You are conscious human being that's just trying to do the best that you can. You're really wanting to up level, to grow. Chances are if you're here, you're a big dreamer or you want to start being able to dream big because you're not wanting to settle for the status quo. And so I want to just bring together a community where you get to meet all the other people and I get to actually talk to you. Tell me your thoughts, share your questions, anything and everything on your mind. We'll have different threads that are created. I know for sure we're going to have a networking thread. So if you want to meet other people and just chat, you can. We're going to have some intention setting / goal setting threads. We're going to have a book club and we're going to have tips and advice. And then just in general, an encouragement and support thread. So the beautiful thing about Slack, which is why we decided to go with this platform over others. Well, one, I think most of you already have it downloaded on your desktop or your app. I love that they have both options. But two, there's some anonymity in there. And while all of my spaces I curate are very safe in terms of there's never any judgment, there's never any bad or good answers or right or wrong answers. We just want you to be as vulnerable as possible. I also get that it's really scary to divulge your personal challenges and be really vulnerable with a bunch of current strangers on the internet. So Slack has a level of anonymity to it. You can put as much information or as little information into your profile as you want. But yeah, I'm just really, really excited for you to be able to connect with me and me connect with you and connect with each other. And then over time, we're going to bring in some guest experts to just really help guide and facilitate different sessions. I'm planning on having a yoga session, maybe a Reiki or mindfulness session. And I will say that I know you have a special gift, something that you're really good at, something that you're really passionate about. And what I'm hoping is to tap into each of your unique talents and see if we can create a calendar of events around sessions that maybe you even want to start facilitating or sharing with the world. So again, check out the Slack channel. This is also going to be the space where you can win a free coaching session with me. I'm actually thinking of for future episodes, I want to offer some laser breakthrough coaching, maybe 15, 20, 30-minute sessions to our community members so that we can just really break down the session. What you're coming up against is very personal to you, but it's also very universal. And I think hearing another person being coached is really powerful so that we can start to examine, where is this showing up in my life? And how do I apply this to my current situation as well? So we'll share more. Like all the fun updates will be inside this community. Be sure to join it. And I can't wait to see you and welcome you on the other side. All right, let's dig into today's episode. You may have already guessed it by the title, but today we want to talk about friendships and why making friends as an adult feels so hard. I hear this all the time. Like, I just moved to a new city and I don't know where to meet like-minded people, or I've just outgrown my friendships over the years and I've evolved as a person. And what I'm really craving and longing for is a soul community, like a community or a tribe of people who really get me. So why is it so hard to make friends as an adult? That's a question I hear a lot, and it makes a lot of sense. So first off, I'm just going to share that when we are in high school and we are in college, we're all kind of working towards the same goal. We're all working towards the same schedule. Like, we have to show up Monday through Friday and sit next to that same person in that same seat every single week for 4 to 5 months, or sometimes even a year. And it's no wonder that friendships really blossom because we're put into this environment. We have a lot of repetition. And when we see somebody day in and day out, week by week, it's just really natural to develop a closer friendship or relationship. We start to know what's going on through their lives. And again, we have so many common goals, like we're all going to graduate at this year, or we're all going to study this one major. And we all have this passion for becoming a whatever career, that it makes a lot of sense that we get along and we can make friends easily. And same things with extracurricular activities. Like if you are going to an art class all the time, or you're going to a gymnastics class all the time, it's just really natural that you meet people who have similar interests and hobbies, and you develop a relationship around that. But as an adult who's post-college, the only time you really see somebody over and over and over again is probably your coworker. And I don't know about you guys, but I did not want to be super close with my coworkers. I actually really wanted to put a wall and a boundary between my personal and professional life. I remember actually when I was working in the corporate world, I would get Facebook friends requests from my coworkers, and I was so weird about it. I was like, no, I can't accept you until I quit the job or you leave this company, but we could be LinkedIn connections. And that was just something that was really personal for me until I met one of my coworkers named Haley. Haley had no boundaries. Like the minute that we met, and I say that in the best way, like the minute we met, she was like, oh, Emily, we should go to happy hour together. Like, what are you doing this Friday? And at the time I was actually living in Phoenix and she was in the Bay Area where the headquarters was. So every time I flew in, she'd be like, oh, you don't need to stay at a hotel. I have a guest room, stay with me. And we just ended up developing a really special bond and friendship. And her and my other coworker, Josephine, were the only two exceptions that I made in terms of putting a boundary between friendship and professional. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I think it just depends on your comfort level and how you want to view your coworkers. I think there's something nice about becoming friends with your coworkers. But I also remember when I was in my very first job, I became really good friends with my friend Billy, to the point where I started venting about my boss, and I started venting about the company and just how toxic it was. And then one day Billy got promoted and he became my new boss. I actually think that's where I decided very early on, I'm just going to keep things professional and personal. I went on a tangent there, but it is more challenging to meet people if we're no longer in school, is the bottom line. One thing that I also want to share is that sometimes friendships are over their expiration dates. This is something that I hear a lot from people. If I didn't know them and I met them tomorrow, would I become friends with this person? And a lot of times the answer is no, because who I was in high school is very different from today. And what I'm realizing is a lot of what's keeping us still together is just historical context. It's the history. Like, oh, this person has known me from when I dated my first boyfriend, and, nobody else in my life is going to know that. So I'm keeping this person around. And to me, that's not a really good way or reason of keeping a friendship. So what I actually want to talk about are some of the qualities of a good friendship. When I say good, I mean an ideal friendship. And I'm not sharing for you to say, okay, I'm breaking up with anybody who doesn't meet these criteria. I personally believe that everyone comes into our lives for a very specific reason. And sometimes it's for a very specific season of our life. Sometimes we need that friend who comes in to betray us so that we learn, okay, maybe I can't be as trusting, or I shouldn't divulge as much information, or I need to be a little bit more selective in who I become friends with. And that's beautiful. Like, I am so grateful for my best friend in high school who betrayed me, because I learned a lot of lessons from that. But do I still want to continue being friends with her? No. To me, friendships should be the easiest relationships that we have. Like, if we feel like we're constantly auditioning, or we have to act a certain way, or we're feeling like we need to walk on eggshells around another person, or we can't be our fullest self, our fullest embodied self, and feel like, wow, this person gets me, this person accepts me. Like, whether or not they agree with me is different, but at least I feel like I can be my authentic self. Then to me, that is not a great friendship. I never want to be with certain friends who I feel like I can't really tell them what's going on in my life. And I say that with a caveat. There are some people where you're going to share more because you just know their personality and their dynamics, and they're able to hold more of you. Whereas some people, you can tell, like, they're still a really great friend and they have strengths in other areas. But if I were to share my biggest dreams with them, like knowing that they're a realist or a pessimist, maybe I'm not going to share that part of me for them to hold, right? So what I'm talking about here is just overall, like, if you feel you can't be yourself, you feel like you're auditioning, you feel like you are always like pretending you're going into an interview and you're not even yourself anymore, that's when I would say it's time to understand that friendships can evolve over time and people change, and it's okay for the dynamics of a friendship to change too. So I really want to give you permission to look at in your life right now, who are you auditioning for? Who are you hiding for? Who are you masking for? And is that friendship still worthwhile? Does that friendship provide any value to you? Because it's okay for friendships to end. That's all I want to say for that right now, because again, I know so many people who hold on to relationships and friendships because of the sunk cost fallacy. I spent so many memories and years with this person. If I let them go, then everything goes away. I lose everything. And that's just not true. The other thing I would say about friendships is to really have a quality over quantity approach. When you're in high school, or like when you're on social media, it may feel cool to be like, oh, I have 1,000 friends. I really don't think anybody has 1,000 friends, or at least if they do, maybe they are friends, but I'm betting a lot of them are more acquaintances. Quality over quantity is truly more important when it comes to friendships. Do you have even one person in your life where you feel like, this is my soul sister, this is my soul brother? They just get me. I feel really supported by this one person. To me, that is more important than having, okay, I have 10 friends and they all come to my birthday party. I would rather have that one friend to go to dinner with than 10 friends that we just talk about surface level things and they don't truly know what is going on personally or on the inside. So focus on building a few deep, meaningful friendships rather than many superficial ones, especially this stage of your life. Everybody's so busy. Everybody has so many competing schedules and different calendars. But do you have a friend that if you really needed something, you could be like, hey, I need you right now. And they would drop what they're doing or at least be like, okay, let me talk to you when I get off of work at this time. And they're really prioritizing you as well. The third criteria for having true friendship to me is, again, being able to be vulnerable. I talked about this earlier, but vulnerability means that I can share what's coming up for me, the good, the bad, and the ugly, without being judged. I can feel like if I share good news, this person is really going to celebrate me. They're really going to champion me. They're really wanting me to bloom. They're really wanting me to reach my fullest potential. They're really supportive and helping me when I say, this is my goal. And, I just feel supported rather than like somebody talking me down or telling me, are you sure you can do that? Or you should give that up. That sounds crazy. The same thing goes with the bad and especially the ugly. When I share what's going on for me at my lowest, do I feel supported by them? Do I feel heard? Do I feel seen? Do I feel validated? Or do I feel like I'm being dismissed or gaslit or just undermined? When you can be vulnerable with another person, it deepens your connection. Like if you have a friend who opens up to you about their deepest, darkest secrets or their deepest, darkest moments, don't you feel like you are more connected after? Like, wow, this person really trusts me. This person gets me, and I get to be there for that person. And the final thing that I'll say about friendships is, again, it should just be easy. It should be fun. If you feel like you're getting more stressed out based on a friendship, like you're always worried about what this person's going to think, or you're worried that you're saying the wrong thing that's going to make them roll their eyes, or, you've crossed a line, then that's going to be really challenging to be in. So I just really want you to check in. Do I enjoy spending my time with this person? Do I feel more energized after our meetings? Or am I always feeling drained and depleted after meeting up with them or having a conversation with them? There's a lot of people out there that have the best intentions and they're wonderful, but maybe they're just not the right friendship for you anymore because, and you'll know this, every single time you finish a conversation with them, you feel more drained and depleted than you do energized and healed and restored. To me, like I never want to go out with my friends and feel like I'm always going home like, oh, that was such a waste of time. Or like, ugh, I wish I could take my hour back. Or like, ugh, this person just doesn't support me. This person doesn't get me. This person brings more drama than good into my life. That's when you get to start to question. And this is really looking and examining, is there a pattern of this happening in this one particular friendship or this one particular interaction with this one person? So I just really want to give you permission to evaluate your current friendships and know that you have full permission to thank them for being here and serving the purpose of when they served a purpose, and also just allowing things to evolve and know that it's okay for friendships to end, just like any relationship that no longer works out. It's okay to say thank you. Thank you for teaching me whatever lesson it is that they taught you. Thank you for whatever great memories they've given to you. And just know that when one door closes, another friendship opens up, another opportunity, another connection, another person comes into your life. And again, it could be for a moment or it could be for the rest of your life. You never know. So how do you make friends as an adult? Well, to me, I think it really stems to finding common interest. At this stage of your life, you know yourself better. You know what energizes you. You know what lights you up. You know what you want to be surrounded by. Find those people. Find those people who are like-minded. Find those people who share the same commonalities, the same hobbies, the same interests, the same goals, the same values. You will naturally start to develop a friendship. So just some ideas of where to find these people. When I moved to new cities, I would go to meetup.com. I don't know anybody here. Let me just see what kind of common interests are out there and show up to those rooms without knowing anybody. Show up to those rooms to introduce yourself. And most importantly, become a regular. It's so easy to go to one event and be like, I didn't really make any meaningful connections, or I didn't really click with anybody, so I'm not going to go here again. Anthony Bourdain actually says, if you are going to review a restaurant, do never review them based on one visit. Visit the restaurant at least 3 times to leave your review, because you may have just gone on a bad day. Maybe the main chef was out, or the server was brand new and they were just the first day of work, and your experience may not be very consistent if you just go once and make a assumption or an evaluation. An evaluation really takes at least 3 visits. And so that's what I would recommend too. If you are by your 3rd visit, nope, not for me. These people don't seem aligned. I don't really bond or click with anybody. Again, it should be easy. It should be fun. I don't really vibe with anybody here. Okay, great. There are thousands of meetups in your city every single month, if not week. And so I just really encourage you to take a look, try to be consistent, become a regular, because oftentimes too, a lot of people already know each other because they've been attending regularly. And so it's almost like that first day of school. You're like, hi, can I be your friend? Will somebody sit with me? Sometimes it's going to be awkward, and embrace the awkwardness. But, same thing with school. By the 3rd week of school, you feel a bit more acclimated. You feel like, okay, I actually know somebody here. They know my name. Okay, now we can be past the jitters, the anxiousness, and we can actually get to know each other and build off of the last conversation. And it gets easier and easier. Other ways is to volunteer or attend networking events. So, I would always Google my city, whatever interest or professional organization or identity that I identify with, just to see, are there any other people who have similar backgrounds as me that are meeting up. So an example of this is when I moved to Los Angeles, I joined the National Association of Asian American Professionals. I just wanted to meet other Asian Americans that were also interested in growing their careers. And I made some really great friends from that. I also joined Lean In Los Angeles, and that was a really great opportunity to meet an amazing woman, ambitious woman who were basically running this nonprofit. And I even became a board member on there. And anytime you volunteer, anytime you take on a type of leadership seat, it really gets you glued in with the rest of the leaders. And it's easier to build friendships because it kind of feels like school again. You're like, oh, okay, we're meeting at this time, and oh, we need to meet up to discuss what? And oh, we're hosting this event. So yeah, let's all plan around this, and let's go to happy hour and discuss this. And it just becomes a lot easier than if you were just a member. I'm just showing up, and not to say just being a member is not good. I was just a member at the NAP, but when you want to elevate friendships and you want to get there faster, sometimes taking on a role that requires you to show up more, that requires you to have more communication and frequency. Again, it just goes back to when you're in high school, you just build quicker friendships and you get to know people more intimately. Another way is to take classes or workshops, or just showing up with recency, doing something where you're constantly on the same schedule as others could be really powerful and helpful in this pursuit of friendships. I think about my most recent friends in Arizona that I've met. They all come from having a common interest and recency. So to give some examples of this, I play pickleball and I tend to have the same schedule each week. And with that, I start to meet the same people who are also interested in pickleball that also meet at the same time each week. And we've just started to develop friendships based off of that. Now, being a new mom, I'm also interested in making sure my children grow and learn. And so for Ryan, I took him to a preschool and I picked him up consistently each day. And, I met other parents who also are picking up their kids at the same time each day. And we've just started to talk and we've developed friendships. And later I'll talk about how to take it to the next level and put yourself out there and nurture relationships. And there are times where you're going to go to like a certain class or certain workshop or certain event and you don't make friends, and that's okay. I recently signed Ryan up for soccer. It was every Monday at 5 p.m. And there were maybe 4 other parents there, but none of us talked to each other. We were just kind of all isolated and doing our own thing. And that's okay. Like, to me, friendships don't need to be forced. You don't need to go into a room and be like, will you be my friend? I think a lot of friendships just come organically and naturally. But I think what I'm getting at here is the most important thing is that you at least put yourself in the room to be seen, to open yourself up to another human connection if that channel is open. And again, doesn't need to be forced. If it's not open, that's okay. I used to go to yoga consistently all the time, and that's just not a place where I would make conversation with people and people would make conversation with me. I feel like yoga is one of those things where you're going for your individual soul and it's just really quiet before and after class and people are heading in and heading out, especially like in the middle of the day. That's okay. But I also know other friends who have made their best friend at yoga. So to me, people just enter our lives at the right time and things just come about organically and naturally the way that it needs to. And finally, I would say using social media could be a really great way to meet friends. I have had people who have messaged me on Instagram and on LinkedIn that said, hey, I've been following you for some time. I really love what you put out there. I love your mission. I love your energy. I just moved to Phoenix and I'm really looking to meet like-minded people. Would you be open to hanging out for coffee? And or, some variation of that. And I've been able to meet them and we've become friends. And I leave those conversations so energized because these are other coaches who are also really into personal development. Most recently, I had a friend, Jess, who I met off of LinkedIn. We had been following each other for a number of years and she reached out to introduce herself. And then she reached out again to say, hey, I just moved to Phoenix. I know nobody, but I'd love to meet up with you. So we met up, had a great time. Anytime I can talk about Enneagram and spirituality and tapping and all the things, I'm like, okay, I feel really energized by this conversation. She's just such a beautiful soul. And then around this second time, she asked to hang out again. I got a DM from a lady named Shannon, who I had never met before. She messaged me on Instagram just saying like, hey, I noticed you're really into personal development. You're in the Phoenix area. I also love all of those things and I live locally and I'm just really trying to develop new friendships with like-minded professionals and people, humans in general. Would you be open to meeting up? And as we were talking, I realized her and Jess lived very close to each other. So I proposed the 3 of us meet up. And that was just the most energizing conversation. We were supposed to meet for an hour, but I think we ended up sitting at the cafe talking for 3 hours. And we just all left feeling like, wow, like they get me. Like I could talk about all these things. And, Shannon was so vulnerable from the beginning. She was really open about her divorce. She was open about her struggles with her teenagers now. And, she's in a different life stage than us. We don't have teenagers. We don't have experience going through a divorce. But just the fact that she was able to be so vulnerable and trusting and open to us, it actually helped us connect to her on a deeper level from a first initial meetup. We didn't really talk about anything superficial. I felt, wow, they're treating me like I've known them for years. And it was just such a beautiful open exchange and conversation. And, I live a little bit far from them, but I know Jess and Shannon have now met up for sushi. They take bocce classes together and they're just hanging out, which I love. And there's certain people in your life that are really just natural connectors. I think I'm kind of a natural connector because as I look at my different groups of friends, if they were to ask like, oh, how do you guys know each other? Typically, I'm kind of the common thread or like the glue that's brought in other people together. And if that's not the type of person you are, that's okay. There's a lot of natural connectors out there. I'm actually not the only natural connector in my circle of different friends that I have. And I think that's really beautiful, just knowing like you can be the connector or you could just be the connected. But there's so many opportunities to build those friendships. Okay. So now that we've talked about how to meet like-minded people and how to just really put yourself out there to meet new people, let's talk about how to nurture these friendships. And so I'm just going to give you some of the best advice that has worked for me through practice, like real world experience, and see if any of these help you. So the first is keeping up with regular communication. There's got to be one person who's a bit more proactive that is taking the lead and the charge. I think a lot of times when I think about dating, a lot of women expect the men to take the lead and take the charge. Like, no, I'm not going to be the first to text message. I don't want to like come off as too desperate, or I want that person to take the lead and the charge. Well, when it comes to friendship, it really is an equal partnership. And so one person is going to probably lead more than another, and that's okay if you're the one that's doing that. But what you don't want is that to be like the whole relationship. Like if I'm always just reaching out to this person and this person never reaches out to me, okay, well, then maybe we need to evaluate whether or not this energizes you or this is depleting for you, or what your boundary is when it comes to friendships. But starting out and initiating, somebody's got to be bold. Somebody's got to take that leap. And so when you meet somebody that you really want to get to know on a deeper level, like let's just say you are both playing pickleball together and you're like, oh, I really like this person. How do you take it to the next level? Well, I'll just talk about how my friend Courtney did that because she's so good at connecting and she's such a great relationship builder. She asked me for my number. She was just like, hey, I really like hanging out. We have kids around the same age. We're always here at the same time. I'd love to get your number. And then what happens is when I gave her my number, she actually started messaging. She started to follow up. It almost started feeling like I was dating somebody. She'd be like, so what do you do? I never got to ask you, like, what do you do for work? And, we would have like these text message threads where we were getting to know each other personally. And it was really exciting and fun. But most importantly, like I felt that she was really putting an effort. She was really curious about me. She was inquisitive about my life. And likewise, I was reciprocating to her. Whenever she would ask me a question, I'd ask her another question. And that's how the conversation just started to flow. So really keeping in touch regularly. And by the way, there are some friendships I have where I don't talk to that person for about 6 months because life is just busy or they live in another city, that I still consider them a very valued friend. And whenever I pick up the phone, we can talk as if no time has passed. Like it felt like I just talked to you last week. And that's perfectly fine too. Like it doesn't need to be like we talk every single day or every single week or every single month. But when you're starting out a new friendship, I would say this is when you need to build a little bit of that momentum, kind of like when you're in high school and you're just sitting next to that same person, you're seeing them week by week. And so when it comes to regular communication, just like a little pop in here. But I would say nothing beats face-to-face communication. So if you I feel today, my friends and I, we even have an Excel spreadsheet of when we can meet. My friend Susan put all of these dates in a row for the next 3 months. And literally there's columns for each of our names and we're supposed to put our availability so that when we get 4 in a row, we're like, okay, this is the day we're meeting. Unfortunately, that's what it's come to because we all have competing schedules with kids and with work. But she's really putting an effort to bring everybody together. And so it's a little bit easier when it's a one-on-one friendship. It's just like, hey, I'm available this day. Are you? Or, okay, like, let me send you my Calendly. Let's get something together. But I think the most important thing is just meeting and getting used to each other. And then what I would say is from there, being reliable. This means that you're not no-showing, you're not canceling last minute. Look, I get it. Sometimes that happens and that's okay. But if you're going to cancel, can you really put another day and stick to that? No, that's basically it. I honestly think that most friendships fizzle out because people say like, oh, can I get your number? Like, hey, we should meet up sometime. And then nobody makes a plan after that. Nobody makes another move after that. And so they just become this contact in your phone where if you look at your text message chain or your call history, like there's no activity following that. And so then people ask like, why is it so hard to make friends? Well, again, it's not hard. It doesn't need to be hard. In fact, it should just feel easy. It should feel fun. It should feel like this is the easiest relationship I have in my life. And so that truly just comes from a very organic, like, okay, this person is maybe not the proactive type. I'm not really the proactive type either, but because I care enough, I'm just going to put myself out there. I'm going to be the bold one, or I'm going to be the leader in this one to see how can we just start to evolve. And again, when you feel like I'm always the leader, I'm always the one initiating, I'm always the one that's being proactive and reaching out, and this person is not doing that, you get to ask, like, is this just their personality and that's what this requires? Okay. Or do I need to maybe set some boundaries? Like, I want to communicate with that person like, hey, I noticed like the past 10 times I've reached out and I love our time meeting and hanging out. And I'm also just wondering if you want to reach out to me next time to let me know that you're interested in hanging out, something like that. Because I think one thing that is really important is being able to, again, be honest and vulnerable in your conversations with another person. And with friendships, I think a lot of people feel like if I have a conflict with a friend, then they're a bad friend, or like a conflict is the end of a friendship. But no, conflict is healthy. Like in a relationship, just like with your spouse or your significant other or partner, you're always going to have conflict. The longer you're with somebody, the conflict is bound to arise. The closer you are to somebody, the conflict is going to be there. But in a good, healthy friendship, you work through the conflict. You're not scared or shy of conflict. You learn how to speak your needs. You learn how to set your boundaries. You learn how to resolve and really listen to each other and come to a mutual understanding or resolution. And when you can overcome and address those misunderstandings and conflicts respectfully, this honestly is how you build and maintain trust and you deepen your relationship with another person. So all that to say is I am rooting for you, and I hope that I can be your friend and we can be friends with each other in this community. So if this really resonated with you, you're like, yes, I really want some deep, authentic, meaningful relationships and friendships. I really want to connect with other people who are really passionate about personal growth and developing and, I don't know, all the fun things about inner child and trauma releasing and just getting past the superficial small talk about weather. I hope you join us inside the Slack channel. I really want to cultivate your joyful life together, our joyful life together. I don't know why I just feel so compelled to say this, but I really love each and every one of you who listen to this episode and this podcast. And I just want to create a very nurturing community where we can all connect and hang out and support and champion one another. So I'll link it again in the Slack channel. It's the Cultivate Your Joyful Life free Slack channel. Come say hello, join us, set your notifications, all the good things, and introduce yourself. I want to get to know who you are. All right. Many blessings, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed it and you're not following me on social media already, come follow me and join the conversation on our latest post. I'm over at Cultivate, or you can visit our website, cultivate.com, and learn more. And don't forget to hit subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss another episode. I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Have a joyful day.